Everyone, I'm Gemma Starr and welcome to another episode of Heart Warriors. This is a series I've been guided and inspired to do through my connection to Katajuda, which is the rock formation here behind me. Katajuda is the sacred masculine site in Central Australia, very close to Uluru. And Uluru is the sacred feminine site. And it's through the energies of these two rock formations that a lot of work is being doing to bring in union and the energies of the new earth. Today's guest is Peter Dawson. He's another Aussie. So I'm really looking forward to my chat with him. He's into a lot of, let's say, advanced spiritual concepts, which have helped him on his journey. And I'm doing this series because I really like the masculine journey of the mind and the heart to be told by men who are walking that path, to be heard by men who are seeking something in their life and maybe they're not sure what it is. So it's my greatest pleasure to welcome Peter. Hello, Peter Dawson. Welcome.
Hi, Gemma. How are you?
I'm really well, thanks. How are you?
I'm extremely well. Yes, thank you.
Oh, good. So I think the best way to start these shows is if you can give us an insight into the man you are today, and then we'll jump back and see how you got there.
Yeah, sure. I've been thinking a little bit about this. Really, what's leading up to what made me who I am, obviously, but on the side of the sacred masculine, where that's come from. Well, my father was no good because he was someone that all of us family, we just wanted him dead. We didn't want him to return. He was just that sort of person, and lots of us have had that. But my mother was absolutely purely unconditional love. She just loved us completely. She trusted us. Like at 8, we're going 6 kilometers on our own to the beach. And it was like my mother trusted me. So I had a great deal of independence. I became very responsible for myself. So those two were really a beautiful thing because, yes, it wasn't good growing up with my father, but now that's resolved. That's made me who I am, of course. But what I got from my mother was so deep, so deep. And so that's the two aspects.
How would you describe the man you are today, which, by the way, is the 8th of the 8th? So yes. We have the Lion's Gate. So yes. Who is Peter Dawson today? Who is the man that got up this morning?
Wow, I'm someone that gets up. I have a few rituals that I do, and everything I do is joyful. Everything in life now is just joyful. So I wash myself in a litre of aged urine each day in the shower. I drink some and mix some with fresh, and that's absolutely remarkable. And I've got meters that I measure things, so I scientifically work out what the urine is doing. That's the sort of man I am. So I can advance myself by changing my environment and changing me. So in my land, I've got paramagnetic towers, so it changes the energy. It gives you greater health, gives you greater clarity. So I like to know all the energy fields I'm in. And when I do know all that, I'm free. I'm free to make myself as healthy as I wish to be. And I'm probably equal to when I was as a fit 30-year-old couple. That's where I am now.
Amazing. So let's jump back to your early 20s. What sort of man were you back then? And where did you see yourself in, 20, 30 years? What did you want from life when you were back in your early 20s?
I don't think I had a great vision of my future, like ambitions. I wanted to enjoy what I was doing. So I suppose my work is I went into this and I didn't enjoy it, so I kept moving. Or what I saw around me didn't make sense. So I wanted to look behind what makes sense. So instead of following the Christian narrative at 18, I'd start looking at all different things. And I think a lot of us did that. We just see through the illusion much quicker.
So would you say back then you were already aware of the heart energies, or were you living purely from the mind?
I'd say half and half then. It was, I had to come much more into the mind to, I had a family and I had to support them go, because I was more hippie-ish, and my wife and I were both hippies, and then we got sucked into mortgages and work and blah, blah, blah. So that made me much more in the head. And now I've left that. I get the whole thing of, we live in our heart. We live by what is authentic, and anything that's not, we are starting to remove more and more and more, so we know who we are. We're learning that the illusion around us is ridiculous when we come out of it and see, and then we're free. We can be free to stand completely on our own, no matter what this is going. If we know the law, the real law, know that that's an illusory law. So I suppose I'm now just looking so much of disconnecting from this whole system. So I've been drawn to do law. I've had to go through that journey because of an accident. I went into law and had to represent myself. I'll flesh that story out later. But my path is, I've had to learn to go into this law thing, and I hate it. But now that I really understand it, it's fun. It's a laugh. We can put anybody in their place who comes at us from the illusion of the legal system, which is not lawful. It's a whole another story of learning that.
So I want to understand a bit more about your journey, how you got from when you said, you know, you were married with a family and you had a mortgage, and, you know, you alluded to being sucked into the illusion. Can you take us through a few significant steps in your life? I'd like to arrive at your darkest point. So if that's somewhere between now and then, can you guide us to that point and your journey to get to that point? Because I like to understand how people rose to where they are today from when they hit rock bottom.
Yeah, that's a very important part of it. I got married. We were both really hippies, and we got married. We were going to get married by my brother, but then we did the normal thing for all the family. And then we had a baby straight away. So that was at 21, and that was the first Lamar's birth in the hospital. We didn't really, there's only home births, we only just started to come in, and my wife had big health issues, so she had to do it in a hospital, but we got them to do Lamar's, which is a quiet. And so we knew even at that age to stick up for what we wanted. Mm-hmm. And then I took a year off. I didn't want to miss out on my child coming into the world. And then we've had 3 kids, and the rest were home births. And so that sort of gives you an understanding of who I was. And then I taught myself to be a builder. I built a doll's house, and then the next thing I built a house, and then I taught myself to be a carpenter. Then I didn't go and learn. I learned by myself, but I still got qualifications because I knew it. And then I was a very good builder, so I taught myself to be a builder. So I have these skills that allow me to pick things up very quick. So I went through that whole journey, built 3 houses for myself in that time, and the third one we owned outright. So my wife and I, our goal was to just work part-time, 2 or 3 days each, and share looking after the kids. And we didn't achieve that till the kids were nearly all left. But as soon as we achieved it, we split up. So we had 25 years of marriage. And then I'll jump to, so that was all beautiful, and all my kids and grandkids are beautiful. But my journey had to carry on. And so you jump forward maybe 10 years and I had a major accident. So at that time, I had a construction company and I taught myself to be a pastry chef, and I opened 2 dessert cafes in Adelaide, all at the same time. So working like 80, 90 hours a week, enjoying it though. That was all fun. But then in the midst of that, I had a major accident, which I got thrown off a motorbike and flew over 4 cars and landed on concrete and broke everything. Broke my pelvis and burst my bladder and lost my psoas muscle. And was in hospital for 6 months and then a wheelchair for a year. And so that's my darkest part, is being in hospital in this agony, but being trapped because I was told I had to lay on my back for 3 months and not move, not sit up, just lay on your back. And that was like, and in insane pain. So that was my darkest physically.
Okay, so can I ask, at this darkest point, what was going through your mind? Can you take us on a journey as to what you were feeling as a man laying on your back for 6 months in hospital?
I would lie there and just wish for a day off. And I'd give up everything in my life, the whole thing, just to have a day off. And just not being able to move. So you lose all confidence. You haven't got a body, you can't move around. It's a really, really weird feeling. So yeah, that's just lying there in pain and panic for that whole time.
What was the prognosis? At that point, did you think you'd be in a wheelchair for life, or did you know that you'd get yourself out of it?
In my head, really, when I was there, was I've got a broken bone and that'll heal in 6 weeks and I'll be fine. And it was nothing like that, because the pelvis is something way, way more major than that. And they couldn't operate, so they had to put an external metal scaffold onto my pelvis to hold it together. So they had to drill bolts into it, and then that sat out here. So it didn't join at the front, it joined like different, and with a 20 mil gap, so my bladder went through that hole as well. And so I couldn't walk because it was destabilized. So my prognosis was that I would walk again, I'd never run, I'd never work, etc., etc. And I'm not listening to this. It's not like I'm saying, no, that's just not true. It didn't make sense to me. I knew that I would heal.
So you were already aware of the power of the mind. You'd already implemented that in your life before your accident.
Yeah, for like 20 years, we would do these little things and put them on the fridge if we wanted a car, and we'd get exactly what we were after. Just things like that. Nothing like the understanding now. That was just like you read it in a book and you tried it and it worked. A bit like Dawson, really. Being in that pain, you end up disconnecting from the pain. It's just like you can't sleep, so you can't sleep that whole time, and you've just got this injection. You're holding this thing that you squeeze to morphine you, and I'd be doing it, every few minutes sometimes. It's a weird, really weird place to be, but it probably took me 3 years. So the darkest point was maybe 5 or 6 years after that, I stopped healing. So I was healing so slowly, and I could walk about 400 meters 4 or 5 or 6 years after. And that stopped. And then I went into depression, because this is my life. This is like, wow, I can walk 400 meters. I can't do all these things. And then I went on all the depression drugs. But it only took me 6 months to just they're revolting, and that's not it. And I broke something and just came out and go, no, I'm just getting on with life.
What would you say is the predominant emotion when you're going through depression?
Fear for sure.
Yeah, so in your case, what were you fearful of?
Definitely fearful that I couldn't do all these things, like be normal, walk normal, do all that. So fearful of that never coming back. And then that was the breakthrough, is all that dropped away, and I just went, it doesn't matter anymore. I was walking to the beach, and within 100 meters, because my main psoas, my right side psoas got chopped in half and then disappeared, all the little muscles had to walk that leg. And that's why after a few hundred meters, they'd be screaming, in real pain. But I got 100 meters towards the beach. It's about a 200-meter walk. And I'm just going, I'm not going to limp. I'm just going to walk as though I'm normal. And I'll do that until I can't do that anymore. But I'm not going to stay in this same energy field of I'm in pain, I'm sore, I'm in pain, and I'm decrepit. So it's a complete change of head. And when I started walking upright, normal, I started zooming in my recovery. And then I worked out very intuitively, I would just work things, how to come out of this, because I was doing physio and hydro and all that sort of stuff. And it was still, I'd stopped my healing. So that wasn't working. That got me to that stage. And then I worked out how to access every muscle and just each day just activate it up to its pain, not into its pain, just up to it. And each day you come a millimeter or less, more, or it might take you 10 days to get a millimeter. Just keep going, keep going, keep going. And
What I
I
want
had
to
to learn.
understand, I know you had your physical healing. I want to understand, if someone's watching this that are in a mental depression, what would you say to them, having come through that? What tips and guidelines and advice would you say to that man who is going through a mental depression right now?
As hard as it is to just start one tiny practice that you do daily, just one, even if it's for 1 minute. You just make sure you do this 1 minute every day. And that 1 minute, whatever it is, whatever practice you choose, you know innately that you're doing something for yourself. And that starts to grow because, oh, I'm doing something for myself, so I must love myself somewhat, because when you're depressed, you don't love yourself. And it's to bring that love back. And the one little thing that someone could do is 5 minutes a day, just 5 minutes. You do this for 100 days. You just commit to this and you just do it. For 5 minutes, you sit there in a calm state of mind and you go back to yourself, usually around 7. Up to 7, you're in theta mode, and you're in the formative, you're a sponge. And that's when most of your programming, or when you were unloved, or whatever it is, most of your great traumas come from that time. Go back to yourself at that time and just hold yourself. You don't have to say it. For 5 minutes, hold yourself and give yourself love. That's all. And within 100 days, your life will start progressing. You're going to add to that and add to that and add to that.
Oh, I love that practice, Peter. Okay, have you got another one that comes to mind that is wanting to be shared? Give people a couple of options.
For a practice, I do this mostly daily now, but if you can do it a couple of times a week, and this is just 10 minutes, so it's a really easy thing, and it's half a dozen different things you do. So you slap yourself until it's sore, and move on and do your whole body like that, and then stop and feel the activation. You're activating your energy field, which you are the energy field. So you're activating the energy field. and you activate it by slapping. And then you loosen all your joints. You do something aerobic. So you just do a 10-minute thing. You go over your whole body, deep massage every day. That loosens everything. If you've got a sore spot, just stay with it.
And that works for people in depression as well?
Well, that's going to bring air in. People in depression usually can't even find the 10 minutes to do this. They really find it hard to be motivated to do anything. And that's why I would just start with just do 1 minute. Just commit to 1 minute for a little bit, and you'll be off. If you can just do that. It's even still really, really hard. I have, you can say, go and do your shadow work, go and do this. But to me, people in that state can't do that on their own. And that would only happen if someone could really work with them. And that doesn't really happen, does it?
What's the mental narrative that's going on when someone's, well, you can only speak for yourself, but in a state of depression? What's the circuit, the loop going round in your thoughts?
I had a very close understanding of this earlier this year. So a friend of mine was going through depression, so she wanted to go back and see her mother in Shanghai and sort something out about her stuckness. And she got locked down, went into depression, got someone to come and share the hotel room with her so she wasn't in depression, and they allowed that. And she got pregnant. So she went into this whole thing and then couldn't get back because they weren't doing flights right in the middle of COVID. And so she was just going down and down and down. And by the time she got here, she tried to hang herself. And then, so I was with her so much and really got an insight into, because I would encourage her to just do these little things, and I'd help her. But to just kick in and do that is so hard for them. But of course, we know drugs aren't the thing whatsoever. And I think when you're in that state, it really is as much one-on-one as you can get with somebody that has a nous of what they're doing, but not a psychiatrist, or nothing in that system works. Nothing.
So as a woman, I want to understand, if I had a male friend going through depression, what could I say? How could I help that person? Maybe there's a spouse or a son, or, because maybe the thoughts going on in a male head are a bit different from those going in a woman's head, so, and it's really hard to understand if our men can't articulate what's happening. So as a woman, I'm really keen to just dig into this spot and understand what's going on in the male mind, and how could a woman or another male help that person.
I had a thing that happened to me about 3 years ago where my back went. Normally when my back goes, it's 3 days and I'm kind of in bed and I can still get up and go to the toilet. But my back went, I couldn't move. I couldn't roll in bed. I was in agony. And this beautiful soul that shares my house, she was living here at the time. She could do everything. But I was in the depths of my head then. That was I was freaking out, like going into panic, because I couldn't do anything, and thinking, wow, that could be projected into the future. But I had to go through that. That was really, really deep. So what helped me in that was actually just presence, and not with me all the time, but just being in different ways, just presence, not necessarily speaking, and a bit of speech, but not necessarily speaking.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Yeah. All right. Let's work on the spiral up. What happened? What tools and practices did you find worked for you to keep you spiraling on up from this deepest, darkest place?
Well, it was coming to an understanding that this was for a reason. And it probably took me 4 years before I could drive past the place of the accident, or even not be affected by even a siren, an ambulance siren. That would affect me. Even seeing it on TV, it would affect me. And then when that part happened where I stood up and walked normally, that was the change of everything. And so that was irrelevant now. And I didn't have, it just stopped. All that stopped. And I started to grasp, wow, I needed to be in this direction. If I was going in the direction I wasn't a capitalist. I was just doing things that I liked and helping people on the way. I was a nice guy, but that wasn't my path. My path had to be here because what I do now is really, really important. And I had to go through that journey. And I think we've all designated different ways of waking up. It's usually through a really dark, dark time.
Okay, how have your attitudes towards what it means to be a man changed since? When was your accident? When was that deepest point, darkest point?
15 years ago.
Okay, so in the last 15 years, have your ideas changed of what it means to be a man?
Yes.
Okay, can you walk us through that, please?
Um, I, I can snapshot through my life and see my bits of life, and I just love it. I loved all the different things I'm doing, but it was as a sacred masculine, it was pathetic, like really pathetic. Like sexually or just as a person or in, it was all great, but every facet of that has made me who I am. So I get it. It's like I just live an amazing life now. I'm disconnected from all the rubbish, and I know how to stand in this weird world completely free. It's really just waking up on every level from your illusion. The illusions are veils still from your trauma, from your distortions, belief systems, and it's our role to wake up from all of that.
All right, I'm going to dig a bit deeper here. I'm going to be more specific in your question. So what's the difference in your attitude towards money and finances and the accumulation of wealth from 15 years ago to today? As a man, because as a man, often that is their priority.
Money for me is irrelevant now, completely irrelevant. I have been saying for a while, and it's just how it works. I work full time in what I do for the universe or for my inner self, whatever you want to say. All my life is my journey and spilling out what I've learned along the way, and that's my role just as a teacher in this life. I'm not a teacher. I never thought I was a teacher, but I'm an educator. And so, no, I'm off track.
That's right. I was just sort of getting an understanding into if your attitudes towards money and the accumulation of wealth, the materialistic things, how that had changed in the last 15 years.
Yeah,
because you're obviously in a better place now in mind and heart. So, you know, that plays a big role in every man's life. I think the value of finances and what's expected of him. So I was just wanting to get an insight into how your attitudes had changed now that you're in a peaceful, happy place.
It's complete. That was normal. You earn money, you do this, you do this. And now I see it so differently. It's just an energy flow. An example is a wife, don't know how to say that. Anyway, two of us, we would have no money. This is before I finally got through court and got some money, we wouldn't even have enough money to buy a cup of tea in a whole year. So we had no money, but we would always be cooking the best food and always going out, and food would just be going out. But every time we went out and came home, our car would be full of food. So that would always happen. If we were going to hold on to that food, that thing of happening, the circle would stop. And so money's the same. I deal with people and they want to pay me, and I can't do money in what I do. It's an energy. So if I'm giving someone 3 hours of my time and they want to pay me back straight away, and I don't want that to just be this energy. I want it to go on, so they will pass it along, and it passes along. It comes back. This interchange is the wrong way. That's when we get in the flow. This is how we do. We do this, and it keeps going around and coming back. Not an interchange. So I don't do that. I know that the universe pays me. So whatever, I don't know where it will come from. And in the last 2 years, I've had $60,000 given to me by mistakes that the banks or insurance companies made over 40 years ago. One check was for $20,000. Then, in the last 2 months, I've had another 2 checks. We forgot to cross the night. You know, I wouldn't have expected after me fighting insurance companies in court that they would actually be who are paying me now.
Wow, nice one. What does abundance mean to you, Peter?
Really, that everything that you wish is there.
Is it a financial, a materialistic thing?
No, not materialistic whatsoever. It's not monetary whatsoever. Abundance, I guess, comes right back to your limitations. So once we free yourself from the limitations of the programming, and we free ourselves from our own limitations, then we create everything through our thoughts. So not through our money. We see ourselves how we want to be. We create ourselves, then we vibrate towards it. If you want a joyful future, the biggest way of getting it, the 90% of it, you can have an intention that's a thought, head. It's only going to steer you 5%. But how you vibrate directs this whole energy. The flow of energy that creates your future is directed by your vibration. So if you want to have joy, then you need to vibrate. So if you want abundance, you need to live in abundance. No restrictions. Abundance is no restrictions.
How does one live in abundance to create abundance?
They've got to do the work. They've got to do the work of resolving all their inner conflicts, because they're their own restrictions. Nothing's external. So everything is internal. So you've got to do the work. You've got to, this body is fine-tuned mechanism in the whole universe, senses every single thing, and then we abuse it and it can't work very well. So we want to get it away from EMS. We want to bring it into high fields of energy. We want to make it healthy. So we don't want to put low vibrational rubbish into our bodies or on our bodies or in our environment. So if we're not going to do the whole thing, it's not just doing trauma work or distortion work, it's doing everything. Every single thing clouds our energy field, which affects our health physically and mentally, and how we connect, whether we're busy in our minds thinking of the past or the future. When we can stop that and we come into the heart, which basically is the best guide ever, but we don't give it time. So we need time for ourselves to just shut up. Go and light a fire, sit with it.
If a man's watching this and he's relatively new to hearing all these concepts, when you say, and he hears do the inner work, and he says, what is the inner work? What are you going to say to him? How does he resolve his trauma and his wounds and understand how that affects the man he is today?
everything's vibrational. So if you understand how the whole universe works vibrationally, when you get a trauma, we're our energy field. A trauma will just say it's like a big onion and all lodge in our energy field, low vibration. We need energy to come through this energy field to turn it on, and that's what manifests into the physical. All the impediments that come into the energy field is what we have to look at. So if it's a trauma, you work on the trauma. And the traumas are an onion, and the outside layer must be peeled first, and that emits a frequency. And we need to go and change that frequency. That's alchemy, changing, transmuting. And you
How does
do
he
that.
change the frequency? How does he heal the trauma? What are the tools?
Very, very simply, again, energy. It's the same as 5 minutes, 100 days in a row. The 100 days is what Joe Dispenza shows you, how you change brain synapse. The synapse, when it fires, is firing information into you. It's not a storage, it's not a repository of knowledge. Everything sits in our energy field as toruses. So the synapse fires, creates a torus, and that's a thought. It stores in our energy field. So we can change everything by how we do this. So he needs to use that to go into, it takes 100 days to change a synapse from default to the new belief. So the practice of 100 days, 5 minutes a day. If it's a trauma and you know a specific incident that you were involved with that caused the trauma, go and sit with yourself in that time to support yourself through that trauma. Give yourself love at that time. You do it for 100 days, it changes that torus into the torus of fear starts to diminish because it's not being fed, and the torus of that I'm loved grows, and it's 100 days to change the mind. It's just, this is just, it's a formula. So people get lost with this. This is, if you look at everything as energy, you can go and do it that way.
I like that practice. So is that something, if someone has been in, can identify several moments of trauma or incidents of trauma or maybe years of trauma, can they combine that all in one sitting, or do they have to address each incident individually?
I don't know. I would say just try it. You know, I would probably separate them for a while or mix them in for a while and just see what feels best for you. As you start doing this work, and that's why I just suggest just get into this 5 minutes a day for 100 days. You know, anyone can do that. You'll find after that that you've actually changed that vibration, and you start to cotton on or feel good because you've done something for yourself. And no one else has been able to help you, and then you haven't been able to help you, and suddenly you've done something. And there's other practices that just, these simple practices of holding to change the electromagnetic fields of your head to combine them, make everything work. I did it just before we did this. It takes you 2 minutes.
Is it something you can run us through?
It's easier to watch. I can send you a link for it's a 5-minute video done by this.
All right, maybe we can post it in the description of this video.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get tools for people watching who might want to know where to start on their healing journey.
Yeah, and so my Facebook page has all my articles in an album called Articles, and they can access all my articles there for what they want to read about my journey. I've only written about what I've been through, what I've learned, what's worked for me, because you know, 5 years ago when I started this work, I was still a real mess. I was still only not having good health, anything like that. And there's a few people who have done this with me, and we're all in quite amazing places now.
Okay, well, I'll put your Facebook link in the description as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I also have my activation as a video on there too, and a couple of other practices that you can do.
Okay, all in your Facebook, or people can reach out to you anyway, but any links, you know, I can drop them in the description. Okay, so we sort of got to the last 5 years. what significant events happened in the last 5 years that propelled you on this healing journey into the heart?
I did a workshop with this guy who takes you into the astral and back into the, into the Akashic record, really. So one of the exercises was, and it wasn't designated as a place like it was in Atlantis. One of them we went to specific places and times. He didn't state what it was, but you were outside, you saw a building, you saw a window, just go up to the window. So I did that. I went up to the window, looked inside, saw somebody standing over someone laying down, but hands above. So I was just guessing it's energy work, not knowing what it is. And then we were told that we could go inside and then go up to that person and ask if we could take that knowledge back. So I did that. I asked the man and he said yes. So, and that was it. Then we came back into together and talked about our experiences. And the guy said, that took us on the journey, said that don't expect to have this knowledge right now, but in an emergency, you might do something you didn't know you could do, or it might come through. And so that was all very interesting. But only, I don't know, time.
Did that knowledge come through?
Yes. So a little bit after, a week or a month, I'm not sure how long after, I said to my wife, I'll give you a massage. And at that time, I could still only stand for half an hour at a time. And I'm not a masseuse. It's just a basic oil rub. I use oil. And my wife got on the table, and then I said to her, I've never given somebody a massage stone. So I got stoned and went back in, and my body took over. I just sat and watched my body do the most ridiculous things to my wife. And in my stone mind, I thought, this is amazing. Or it could be she'll get off the table and go, that was ridiculous. And I didn't know, but she got off the table and said that was the most profound thing. And I did that for an hour and a half with no pain. So something odd was going on. And I hadn't had that experience before. And then a couple of weeks later, I gave the same experience to a friend, and she said the same thing. And then, so it went on from there. And in the last 5 years, I've probably, it's morphed from that, but seen about 40 people. And it's only for specific people that the universe connects with me.
So is this you're attributing this knowledge to what you experienced at the Akashic Records?
So I didn't know what I was doing, but it comes to me now after. So the first massage with my wife, in the next week or two, it showed me that, I was rattling out all these, in the energy field, I was rattling out all the little low vibrations. And I didn't have these concepts then either. I just knew I was rattling stuff out of the energy field. And the big ones, I was softening. And that's what this intuitive massage is. And it's morphed and morphed and morphed from there. But where that came from, it took maybe 2 years for me to come to, or I got shown that that was me I went up to. And that was in the Atlantean times, but that was me. So I was just handing down my knowledge. And about a year ago, I've then again been shown that, no, that was actually knowledge that I brought with me from the Pleiades. So who knows? But that's what I've been shown, and that kind of sits right. And I've been given a Pleiadian name by a psychic who visited years ago. And so you put it all together, it looks and feels really good, but who knows?
Well, feeling is very important. And so now I can ask, you say it feels really good. Is that coming from the heart or the mind?
No, definitely the heart.
How would you describe yourself as a man who lives from the heart? Not what you do. How does it feel?
So any interactions with people, or even in everything, every aspect of life. So I don't want to impose my will onto anything. I don't want to impose my will on anything that's sitting in the house that doesn't get used. It's actually held up. My will is holding it up in its life's journey. Like, it might want to keep going to have another experience rather than sitting in my cupboard. So I don't want to impose my will on any person at all. So I don't wish to wish people ill, but I don't wish to wish people good, because it's not that's head stuff. That's coming from, I think they need good, but they're in their journey and they might need to have cancer or something. It's not, I don't want to impose my will on anybody. So I send everybody love, but it's only if they wish it.
Sure. Okay. So, what would you describe, apart from love, when you do live from the heart, what emotions are you embodying? What are the three emotions apart from love that you're feeling?
Nearly everything I do is joyful. And I actually don't choose other. I don't choose to do anything that's not joyful.
Mm.
So that's, years ago, people say, oh, you just can't live in joy all the time. And now I'm going, oh, well, you can. And it's not like, oh, I'm just going to be joyful. It's just, you have this cheer, this beautiful, I love to walk and enjoy and look at things, or I go meditative. A lot of my downloads are walking. I don't actually meditate that way. My downloads are go for a walk. I wrote everything that had to go into the Supreme Court by walking and getting it all. I was told once, I've got 50 of the best lawyers and 30 of the best judges ever sitting on my shoulders, just going, we'll tell you anything. So I started accessing them by just walking, and then I'd come back and do all the writing.
Okay, I've heard you mention the word sacred masculinity a couple of times, which I refer to as divine masculinity, but for me, it's the same thing. What is your meaning behind when you use those words? What does it mean? What does a sacred masculine mean for you?
I would say not operating under any illusions. So actually have gone and looked really at yourself deeply, deeply, deeply. Where is everything coming from? But to do that, you've got to do all this work. You can't just go and look. It's a package. And so I've been doing this over 5 years, and I have nothing that holds me back. I've cleared most of these energies. I still have all different stuff, still different, voices or whatever. But it's like, I see exactly where every single thought comes from. So it doesn't steer me in these other directions where it could have.
Because, I deal a lot with the masculine, feminine energies, and my awareness has been there's, wounded feminine and divine feminine energies, which are the healthy, divine are the healthy. And so the same with the masculine, there's the wounded masculine energies, such as, control, oh, I can't rattle them off now. You might be able to help me, but the divine masculine energies, which, you know, are, well, you might be able to help me here. What are the divine masculine energies? There's honor, respect. Can you add on to that list?
Authentic, never overstepping your mark. See, the strength of the divine masculine has been distorted, so that we get the feminine, masculine and feminine have both been distorted. And the masculine is that they're really pushed to overstep their mark, which instead of their strength, the strength is not an outward. The strength is an inward thing, like the strength of a gorilla or a lion. Just that's the sacred masculine strength. So it's not built on ego. It's just its strength and the character. To me, the energies of the sacred masculine would wrap sacred masculine, the sacred feminine, but never impede her whatsoever. So she's got complete freedom, but she knows the masculine has just got her completely surrounded in this love field, so that she can fearlessly create and create. And that's how I see the true reason we're here, the essence of why we're here. And so that's the role of the sacred masculine. And then you move out from there.
I like the analogy of the river. So the banks are the masculine, directing, and the structure and the direction, and the feminine is the flow, the water that's, you know, flows and is free within that structure of safety. I like that analogy. Would you agree with that?
Yep.
Oh, lovely. So where else can we go with this? You did talk about, once you mentioned to me that what happened to start your writing? Remember? Do you want to go into that story of you got some downloads and were told to write? Yeah. What happened there?
I started this journey 5 years ago, but it was about 3 years ago that I was walking on the beach, and I don't hear voices, but I was walking on the beach and it said, go home and write. And so my writings, I just came home and wrote, and it was a 9-page article, and it just flowed off. I didn't have to correct it and do all that. It just flowed out. And I realized because I posted that one about trauma, and because you said you were going to, that you read it. So I read it Saturday for the first time since I wrote it, which is 2 years ago. And it amazes me what I wrote. I can't just sit down and write that. I have to be put into a space and that just comes out. So I can't sit down and do that. And so all the articles come that way. So 3 years ago, go home and write. And for 3 months, about 12 articles came, and then everything stopped. Oh, finished. Okay, good. Because it was waking me up at 3 a.m, go and write. Things like that. And there's a few articles come recently, but they're the same. They need to come out, and it's not. So it might go, there's an article brewing, and it might take a day to come, or it might, I haven't even thought and I just start writing, or it might take a month or two.
That's fascinating. As a writer, I can definitely relate to that. You had an article about the what was it now? The hologram or the simulation.
Yeah.
Do you remember that one? What was how does your understanding of the simulation or holographic reality work? How do you use that understanding to create a better life for yourself?
We got to undo all our belief systems. That's the big thing, because that's what restricts us. So if you don't think you can do it, if you don't think you can, so your belief system, just say on manifesting, when you were a little girl, if I came up to you and said, I can make a cake appear there instantly, And more than likely you go, yeah, but that's magic. You're tricking me. That's not real, because that's what we've been taught. It's not real. But we actually can do that. It's only our limitations that we can't. So once you start undoing that belief of you can't do this, can't do this, my psoas muscle, which I've got an MRI showing that it's gone, or it chopped in half, the bottom bit disappeared, and the top is a little thing, and they were going to open me up and refabricate one in plastic and go, no thanks. I've grown mine back, and that's not possible in today's belief system, but it is possible. I can alter time. I'm very good at manifesting that. And people misunderstand manifesting.
For sure, for sure. So when you look back at the man you were 30 years ago, what would you say to that man now?
Off the top of my head, I would say, awesome. Where you're going is awesome. Keep doing the same thing. Don't change a thing.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Would you have any advice for him when he was at his lowest point?
It all doesn't matter. It's all a game. Just it wouldn't matter. No, because that's all the journey to get me here. I couldn't change anything. I don't want to advise them to do anything other than, or otherwise I might disappear, or I'll be different.
So that's a good point to go, like, for people searching for the meaning of life, how did you find what the meaning of life is for you?
I finally woke up to who I am, and that is come out of all the illusions we have, and that's all beliefs. 95% of everything we got to throw out, because that's not us. We're multidimensional. Once we get to pull all that knowledge in, imagine all those lifetimes of knowledge, and then we start to pull the character of our soul in. We expand that way. That's who we are. So, and our beliefs is what we've learned in this little few years that we've been here. And we just need to punch holes in this limitation of thought. There's a box here. Let's punch holes, because here's a box around you, and suddenly someone says, "Oh, there could be more than one universe. Might be millions." Even if you don't believe it, it punches a hole in. There's a possibility. So you bring in lots and lots and lots of weirdness, and then discern.
So how did you educate yourself on all this? Did you read books? If someone wants to explore this opening, where would they start in understanding the illusion?
We've got to understand that how our minds, our energies work, and our thoughts create. So the synapse fires makes a torus, and the torus is of everybody's is linked together that creates our reality. All these toruses operate our reality. So our thought on our future, we can direct by what we put into here, which creates our energetic reality, and the physical must manifest if we've done it energetically. And so learn how everything works. Just learn. We're in a game, and we've been told the wrong rules. Like, we've been playing in the wrong rules. So we're just getting wiped by ourselves because we're not educating ourselves, and we're getting wiped by the system because we don't know how to go, oh, that's illusion. It's not illusion. It's right there, but they have no legal jurisdiction over living. They're a corporate entity system. And if we don't wake up from that, we're just still in an illusion. And if our minds are in an illusion creating our future, it's still going to be illusory. Our speech was changed 8,500 years ago to make sure we speak in verb adverb, not noun. So we speak in illusion, and then all the legal terms are in illusion. And that's a spell, and all the words are spells. We've got to break out of that. That's how we free ourselves, and then you can see who you really are. So
So,
much.
where did you, I know you're very much into this, what resources did you use to educate yourself? Where can you direct people that really want to explore this, this field?
I read books that show you what your mind can do. So the intention experiments, which over a long time, I don't know, maybe 100 years, have been showing with results, scientific data on how your minds can affect things. So straight away you start to go, oh, my mind can affect things. Emoto, where thought changes the crystalline structure of water.
That's what this is. This is the water crystal of love and gratitude. And because our bodies are 80% water, and this is from his office in Tokyo, our bodies are 80% water. I've been wearing this for about 5 years, and it's got to, you know, affect the water in my body. So yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm totally
Yes,
with that.
absolutely.
Yep.
So when you understand that, then you use it and you get advantage. So I have those sort of things on my water that I drink. And of course, we're going to pick up everything from water. So we want to make sure we bring in good vibrations because that's our water. Learning about the fourth state of water, and urine develops in 3 days from, it will develop higher and higher fourth state of water. And then you bring it back. It will develop plasma, like plasma as in primal source energy. So in 3 days, it will develop plasma. In 3 days, its electron count, which is its energy source, goes from maybe 0 to 300 electron counts in 3 days. pH will go from 6 to 9 in 3 days. It's magic stuff, and it's full of magnesiums, stem cells, and it goes on and on. Anyway, that's other
Fascinating.
people
Yeah.
work that out.
Yeah. Certainly something if someone wants to explore that avenue. I have heard of it before, so very interesting. So as a, what else would you like to say about your journey that might help other men on their journey? What advice, as someone who's walked the path as a heart warrior, would you like to give out to the people watching?
Where you are right now is exactly right. Exactly right. There is no such thing as blame, shame, and guilt. Everything you've done has been exactly right. So you can just get rid of all that. And then just start moving towards what you want. So if you want to dream the heart warrior into play, then you've got to see it in your future. And then you've got to vibrate and do the work.
So when you say vibrate, the way I interpret that is that I'm aware that all emotions hold an energetic frequency. And as we up on the emotional scale from things like guilt, shame, anger, fear, into love, acceptance, gratitude, that's how we raise our individual frequency. Is that what you're talking about when you say raise your frequency?
If you're going to sit in fear or stress or sit in that, it'll bring more to you. What you vibrate, you're a magnet. Yeah. It'll bring it to you. So if you want the ideal, whatever you think of the ideal as the sacred masculine, or that's the direction, it's better to not have a hard picture of what you think of the sacred masculine, because it's not like that. That's in the head. Just do the work so you can hear from your heart, and all the other stuff, all your veils, all your illusions drops away, and you're left with it. It's in here. It's not out there. It's in here, and you've got to vibrate it to make it manifest in front of you, and that will take you on the journey.
What about someone who is juggling life, a career, a young family, bills, mortgage, you know, wants, needs, really in that state of giving so much out of themselves that they're not really focused on their inner journey, but they're obviously stressed and fearful and, you know, in a materialistic mindset, but they know there's something more to life. What would you say to those men?
I have the market. So I have a stall at the organic market in Wollonga. It's called the Green Light Organic Market every Saturday. And I have a stall there with some of my writings and a little library with specific books. And I get families now, quite a lot of families come in, and they're like that, and the masculine's the same. And to me, it's like the first thing I'm saying to them is you got to learn how everything works. Start learning the games of how everything works, because while you're still stuck in this system, like you're still chatteled, you've got this chain on you with your mortgage, job, this and this and this. I said to a guy on Saturday that you could get rid of your mortgage. That would free you so much, because he wants time of freedom so he can start doing this work. He's like that. He's busy like that. Everybody is, and busy with stress, which makes it's hard to it's just hard to find that time with kids.
So how is he going to get rid of his mortgage?
You've got to learn the law. I mean, if very, very simply, if you send a letter to the bank just asking them to send you a copy of their contract, the mortgage contract, and they'll have to pass a syntax to prove that it's a legal document, and they can't do that because if you pass a syntax which is actually pulling it apart and seeing exactly what it says, you'll find that it's a fraudulent document, because hardly any documents have been done. They're mostly written to be an illusion, and verb and adverb are irrelevant in documents. You need facts, and hardly any of them have got facts. So they've used false and misleading information. So most people that do this, the banks just go, well, don't tell anybody, because if we go to court, it'll cost us millions of dollars.
Wow, it's really that simple?
It is, but you've got to know what you're doing, know what you're doing. I'm at the moment in the process of disengaging from everything to do with my strawman name, the name in capital letters, because that's the legal entities that are created, and that's not you. You don't have to. It's not you don't own it. They own it, and they want you to attach to it. When we understand the system, it's a fake system, and they wanting us to play in it, and you can just walk away. So there's people all around. Once we wake up to this, it'll be the people that want to follow the illusion, the society. They're a society that agree to play by fake rules. And I'm in a society that agree not to play with fake rules. So the only rules that apply to me is common law, which is do no harm, do not steal. So don't hurt or kill someone, don't pinch or damage their property, and don't swindle them. That's the only, and you have to have committed a crime to go into court. Nothing else. All the government is the fake system, the court's the fake system, and they go, come and play it. And they know how to wind you in and attach you. We will have to separate from it, because the matrix is going. We have to separate for the next year or two to stay safe. We need to separate from them. Know that we're an illusion. How can we think we're going to be spiritual masters of ourselves if we still live in illusion? So we all have to learn this. We've got to learn that that's an illusion. Don't play in it. Don't vote. Voting gives them the right. It gives them a power of attorney over you for the period of that legal term. Why would you do that? It's crazy. When you actually know what it does legally. Wow.
There's so much to get into there. Wow. So we're going to wrap up now, Peter. Is there anything else that you'd like to say while you have the center stage?
I think I've said enough.
All right. Well, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. Lovely to get to know you and to definitely get into that sort of quantum realm of the illusion. That's I know on my journey too, it's been played a really important role to understand that. So thank you for that advice. And also, getting people steps to get out of depression. I think that's really important. So thank you, Peter, for your time.
Thank you, Gemma. It's been a real joy.
Okay, and I'll just stop the recording.